Okay, this time let's use all of the tools that we've learned so far, which is using the print function, the input function, and converting strings to ints, doing some basic math calculation, and then outputting that to the console. So again, as much practice as you can get with this information, the better off you're going to be. It's all about practice, challenging yourself, creating things on your own, or even looking at what somebody else is doing, either me or somebody else online, either on YouTube or somewhere else, and just saying, give yourself a framework saying, this is something I want to solve. And this is really what coding is all about, software development is all about, or anything in IT is all about. It's all about solving a problem. So get yourself now, start thinking about coding in terms of solving a problem. How would you solve the identified problem given what you know how to do? Now, if it's something that you don't know how to do, then you can't solve the problem, but solve as much of it as you possibly can given what you know how to do. Now, that means that at this point in time, your code may be very clunky, very bulky, very quote unquote long winded. There may be way too many lines, but as you progress in your skill sets, as you become more efficient, as you learn new skills, then your code will become more efficient, more organized, and so forth. Even right now, you have seen me use comments, but not all of the time. So right now we're just in the tutoring stage, the tutorial stage, just to show you how things are working. So we'll get to using comments and we'll create different sections of our code, and our code over time will become very lengthy. But then we need to, even at that point, we will learn how to make efficient or better use of our space in terms of using methods, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Just know that there's a lot out there to learn, even at the very basic level. So anything that we are able to do at this point is a good thing. So let's take a look at my code here. And I like to, let's see here, just give it some space. And so we have birth year equals, now the reason that I just kind of on a backdrop here on a preface, I don't type really fast. I'm an old person and I don't really type really fast. And then sometimes I don't even talk really fast either. So the game plan is to kind of walk you through step by step each of the elements of my code so you get it. And of course, if I'm moving too slow, then you need to move on to somebody else, or at least watch what I'm doing and kind of take it slowly, absorb what you're listening, absorb what you're seeing, and then make use of it. It's really about making use of what you know. Okay, so I have an input statement right here. You see the input keyword, you see the parentheses, and in the last tutorial or in some previous tutorial, I said, I don't necessarily like asking questions. I like simply prompting for information. So I know that when I use this and this colon, that I am prompting the user, in this case me, for input. Now I'm saying birth year. So I'm not going to give you my real birth year. However, I just might. So we know that that's going to be stored as a string by default in this variable. Now I do need to at some point convert that string data type to an int data type, and I'm going to do that down here because I have a variable called year, and that's the current year. So I want to calculate my age based on the difference, the number difference between this current year, and we're still in 2020, so this may need to change in a couple of weeks, and subtract from that my year of birth, okay? So that should give me, in some accurate measure, how old I am. And then I'm going to take that variable and pass it here and print it out. Let's see if it works. So my birth year is 69 and I am 51 years old. Okay, so even though it doesn't do a whole lot, nothing special here, this is giving us some really key skills about understanding how to convert a string to an int using the int function for review, taking those input variables and then using a math calculation. Your age is equal to year, which is 2020, minus my birth year. Now, I do want to talk about something really quickly, however. I'm using what's called camel case in terms of how to write my variables. So I've got something called birth year. And as you can see, the first letter of the first word, these are two words, the first letter is a lowercase, and the second word begins with an uppercase. And if I wanted to do it again, birth year is, and so forth. Now, this is structure. This is best practice for lots of different coding languages. However, with Python, and it's something that I learned over the years. However, Python likes to use the underscore, so birth year. Now, my recommendation getting started is do what's comfortable. However, if you really want to impress or be consistent with the Python coding structure, then use the underscore between words. And you'll see me progress to that stage. But early on, I like to kind of go back and forth, especially when I'm doing this in a classroom setting, so that it makes sense. And I do this a lot in the classroom area. However, until we get there, you'll see camel case, but just know that in between words, you could use the underscore, and this is the underscore. And it's still going to work the same. So if we did this, so I will just, for the sake of it, change birth year to birth year. And let's see where else. And even go your age to your age. And as long as my variables are consistent, then we're in good space. So birth year and birth year and birth year and your age and your age. So still, year I was born, 1980, and that would make me 40 years old. So as you can see, it still works. Okay, so that was good for our next step forward. Hope to see you again soon. Take care.